Before you even think about skipping through this video, let me tell you something. What I'm about to share isn't just another generic self-help lecture. This is about understanding the deepest psychological patterns that govern human behavior, combined with ancient wisdom that has stood the test of time for over 2,000 years. If you've ever felt betrayed, abandoned, or taken for granted, and wondered why those same people eventually come crawling back, you're about to discover exactly why this happens, and more importantly, how to position yourself so you never become emotionally dependent on their return. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. These words from Marcus Aurelius might seem counterintuitive when we talk about making people come back crawling. But here's the profound truth. True power doesn't come from manipulating others. It comes from mastering yourself. Let's dive into why people who once walked away from your life often find themselves magnetically drawn back to you, especially when you understand and apply these principles of dark psychology and Stoic wisdom. Part 1. The psychology of loss and value. Think about this. Why do people only realize what they had after they've lost it? The answer lies in what psychologists call loss aversion. Humans are wired to feel the pain of loss more intensely than the pleasure of gain. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus understood this centuries ago when he said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." When someone walks away from you, they're operating under a common cognitive distortion, the belief that the grass is greener elsewhere. But here's where it gets interesting. The moment they lose access to you, 3 psychological triggers activate. 1. Scarcity principle. 2. Contrast effect. 3. Idealization of the past. Let me break this down with a story from one of my viewers, Alex. He wrote to me about how his girlfriend of 3 years left him for what she thought was a more exciting life. But within 6 months, she was trying to reconnect. Why? Because she fell victim to what psychologists call the paradox of choice. But here's where Stoicism comes in. And pay close attention, because this is crucial. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote, "All cruelty springs from weakness. When people leave, it's often from a position of weakness. They're running from themselves, not from you." Part 2. The power of indifference. Now, I know what you're thinking, but how do I actually make them come back? And this is where most people get it wrong. The secret isn't in making them come back, it's in becoming someone who doesn't need them to come back. Marcus Aurelius said it perfectly. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. This isn't about revenge, it's about transformation. Here are the psychological principles that make people come back crawling, aligned with Stoic wisdom. 1. The law of reverse effect. When you chase someone, you push them away. When you pursue happiness desperately, it eludes you. The Stoics understood this paradox deeply. As Epictetus taught, don't seek to have events happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do happen, and all will be well with you. 2. The power vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. When you remove yourself completely from someone's life, not as a manipulation tactic, but as a genuine act of self-respect, you create a void that can only be filled by your unique energy. Let me share something personal here. Years ago, I was constantly trying to prove my worth to someone who couldn't see it. I was doing exactly what Seneca warned against when he said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." The moment I internalized this wisdom and truly stepped into my own power, something remarkable happened. Not only did they come back, but I no longer needed them to. Part 3. The dark psychology of human nature. Now, let's delve into the darker aspects of human psychology. Not to manipulate, but to understand. People are naturally attracted to what they can't fully possess or understand. This is what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement. The Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus observed, "It is not possible to live well today unless you treat it as your last day." This mindset creates a natural aura of mystery and self-sufficiency that others find magnetically attractive. Here's why this works on a psychological level. 1. Pattern interruption. When you break someone's expected pattern of how you'll react, you create cognitive dissonance. Their brain must reconcile this new reality with their existing perception of you. 2. Value through absence. As Seneca noted, what we cannot long for in their presence, we ignore in their absence. When you're constantly available, people take you for granted. Your absence forces them to confront your value. 3. The mirror effect. When you focus on self-improvement rather than their return, you hold up a mirror to their own stagnation. This creates what psychologists call upward social comparison. Part 4. The implementation strategy. Now here's where we get practical. I'm going to share specific strategies that combine dark psychology with Stoic principles. Remember, this isn't about manipulation. It's about personal power. Strategy 1. The Stoic frame. Accept that they might never come back. Focus on what you can control. Build your own empire of mind and achievement. Live by Marcus Aurelius's words. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Strategy 2. The psychological trigger points. Master the art of dignified silence. Create visible but authentic growth. Develop new connections and interests. Remember Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Strategy 3. The power position. Maintain absolute control over your emotions. Never explain yourself unnecessarily. Keep your improvements subtle but noticeable. Live by Seneca's wisdom. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Part 5. The critical warnings. Before we conclude, I need to address something important. This knowledge comes with responsibility. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Never use these principles to intentionally hurt others, manipulate for personal gain, create toxic relationship patterns. The goal is to become so focused on your own growth that their return becomes secondary to your evolution. Part 6. The final transformation. Here's the beautiful irony. When you truly internalize these principles, something remarkable happens. The people who once left don't just come back, they come back to a different person, someone who has transcended the need for their validation. As Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do. Remember this, the most powerful position you can ever be in is when you genuinely don't need someone to come back. That's when they always do, not because you manipulated them, but because you've become undeniable. The Stoics knew this truth thousands of years ago. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look." If this video resonated with you, take a moment to like and subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Remember, true power isn't in making others come back. It's in becoming someone who can't be left behind. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius.